Miss Shelly Ragle. She is the Shreveport Parks and Recreation
Queen.
Directrix. Okay, so Aaron was wondering a little while ago, there's still, some sand and stuff downtown at the Riverfront Park and stuff like that. What's the latest on that?
There's still some sand. There's a lot of sand still on the river.
Well, I was trying to tee it down for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how much sand, the riverfront has on it after the flooding. But you will see some major cleanup beginning this morning. We spent, about 150 man-hours in additional to our normal work days trying to at least get the sand off the walking trails. We're trying to do some repairs to those where we had some areas washed out. But this week, you'll even begin to see more sand being hauled away and piled up. And, there's probably about 1,600 cubic yards of sand that have to be removed from the riverfront.
Now, pardon me, the reason you guys are really kicking into high gear today is because Aaron was talking about it on the radio earlier this morning, right?
Come on. The Rebel. It's the Rebel coming up, right?
Yes, Rebel is coming up first weekend in October. And but it's just, I don't think people realize, even when the river went down, we still had water in lots of places. If you've been by Hamels and Seabick and Dixon Park, we still have, both of those parks are still closed.
Yeah, I had said a couple of times, it's still pretty darn high, Shelly, everywhere.
Right. And so all of our control systems for all of our fountains are below grade. So there's some of those still had water in weeks after it looked like the river flooding had gone down. So real cleanup for us really just began about 2 weeks ago, because things were just now, getting where you could get in, drying up enough to get machinery in there to do the cleanup.
So sort of a two-parter. Over the next, say, and I'm talking downtown for right now, over the next, you tell me, what are people going to see that will be conspicuous? Will it cause traffic problems, et cetera? And what is your deadline to get, as much done as you can, I guess?
We are working really hard, starting in Riverfront Park. You probably have seen some of the sand piled up there. We had to restore power to Riverfront Park. That just happened in the last week. So you'll start to see the fountains. The waterfall itself is full of sand. So you can't use machinery, shovels and buckets, nothing. That makes that's a very slow process. You'll start to see it come back on, all the lighting, all of those things that have been out for a couple of months now. The other thing we're going to be doing this month is a cleanup of all the sculptures, all the artwork in Riverfront Park. In the last week, the contractor has gone back to work on the expansion in Riverfront Park of the bathrooms, the shade covering. So you're going to see a lot of activity going on down there. This cleanup has been, a concerted effort by both the city and the Waterway Commission. Has been just a big support to the city. They've begun cleaning up Stoner Boat Launch. So you're going to see a lot of work going on. We're also going to be doing some repair, like I said, to the walking trails that was washed away during the flooding. Some of those areas have some washouts. Have made some big potholes in the walking trails, so we'll be repairing those and then looking at, a long-term overlay of that walking trail.
Shelly Ragle, Queen of Spar. We talked with you a month or so ago, and you talked about possibly repurposing some of this sand out at Cargill. Is that possible? Is it the right consistency? Is it what you need?
Well, our contractor who's going to be doing that project out there has tested it. The sand will work. We are in the midst of waiting on the DEQ has to approve your repurposing of this sand and certain applications. So we have made application for that. We should know something this week about, their decision on whether that's an appropriate use for it. There's going to be some limbs and some debris that has to be removed, and they also have to approve that. They just want to make sure everything we do is in accordance with all the rules and regulations.
Miss Shelly, moving farther south down the Clyde Fant, you get down to like Hamels Park and stuff like that. A couple of questions. One, the parts of that are still underwater. You hear stories about people still catching these 2 feet long catfish and stuff. What's the story down there? And they're directly on the Fant Parkway, where there's still a lot of sand and stuff just on the road. Is that your responsibility? Is that the state because it's the highway? How exactly is that going to work out?
That we will be doing that cleanup too as we work our way down the riverfront. We'll be cleaning some of that off the parkway. That's where those HESCO barriers were that were built, to ensure that there wouldn't be any additional flooding in those areas. And we'll be cleaning up the sand off the roads from that area too.
Now, as far as Hamill's area is concerned, and there's still some standing water, is that something you plan to pump out, or are we just going to kind of let it dry let nature take its course?
Let nature take its course. It would, it's if you remember, Seabeckham-Dixon and Hamill both flood at times when you don't have river flooding anywhere else. And both of those, Seabeckham-Dixon has actually been closed since around February. So that had nothing to do with the event we had in June. It was strictly what happens in that park a lot of times when we have heavy rains. So both Hamills and Seabeckham-Dixon will wait for the water to recede, and then we'll begin the cleanup in that area.
Shelly Ragle, Queen of Spar, we can't thank you enough for your time this morning.
Dancing Queen,
Sure.
as Abba once said.
Dancing Queen.
Miss
Okay.
Shelley, a pleasure as always. Thank you for your time. We
Thank
greatly
you.
appreciate
Y'all have
it.
a great day.